This article explores the transformative concept of self-deconstruction as a pathway to profound personal growth, inspired by the powerful sentiment, break yourself to remake yourself, not for the weak. Best motivational speech of all time. This journey is not for the faint of heart, demanding a willingness to confront deep-seated limitations and rebuild from the ground up. We will delve into the different stages of this process, understanding how to dismantle old patterns and forge a new, stronger identity. Chapters. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Stability. This chapter will explore the inherent risks of clinging to perceived stability and the reasons why confronting our limitations is vital for true progress. Chapter 2. Identifying the cracks. This section focuses on the crucial steps involved in honestly assessing our current state, acknowledging our weaknesses, and pinpointing the areas that require change. Chapter 3. The Courage to Dismantle. We will discuss the mental and emotional fortitude needed to let go of old habits, beliefs, and identities that no longer serve us. Chapter 4. Rebuilding the Foundation. This chapter centers on the process of creating a new personal narrative, establishing new values, and consciously reconstructing a more powerful self. Chapter 5. The Ongoing Evolution. This final chapter emphasizes that growth is a continuous process, highlighting the importance of remaining adaptable and embracing change throughout our lives. 2. Article, 30,000 characters. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Stability. The human inclination to seek stability, often perceived as a haven of comfort and predictability, can inadvertently become a formidable barrier to personal advancement. The very structures we construct around ourselves for security, our routines, our beliefs, our carefully cultivated identities, can solidify into prisons that confine our potential. This inclination towards the known, this reluctance to deviate from familiar paths, stems from an inherent fear of the unknown, a dread of the perceived chaos that might ensue if we were to dislodge ourselves from our self-imposed anchors. However, true growth is seldom found within the boundaries of the comfortable. It resides in the uncharted territories of the unexpected, in the arduous process of questioning long-held assumptions, and in the courageous leap into the uncomfortable realms of self-discovery. When we become too entrenched in our routines, we risk becoming stagnant, losing sight of our capacity for evolution and growth. To truly thrive, to unlock the boundless potential that lies dormant within us, we must embrace the inherent instability of life, recognizing it not as a threat, but as an intrinsic element of progress. The most profound transformations often arise from moments of greatest upheaval, when our carefully constructed realities are shaken to their very core, forcing us to confront the limitations that have been holding us back. The avoidance of this discomfort, while seemingly a path of least resistance, ultimately leads to a diminished existence, devoid of the exhilaration of growth and the profound satisfaction of achieving one's true potential. The pursuit of genuine personal transformation requires a conscious decision to confront this tendency towards static existence, to actively seek out experiences that challenge our perceptions and push us beyond the confines of our comfort zone. The comfortable illusion of stability, while tempting, ultimately diminishes our capacity for growth and the full realization of our potential, a realization that only emerges through a willingness to embrace the inherent turbulence of change. In the end, the very concept of a fixed, unchanging self is a fallacy. We are inherently dynamic beings, forever in a state of flux and growth, provided we dare to embrace the necessary discomfort of self-transformation. Chapter 2. Identifying the Cracks. The journey towards self-transformation begins not with grand pronouncements or sweeping gestures, but with a meticulous and unflinching examination of our inner landscape. This crucial phase involves the often uncomfortable process of identifying the cracks in our foundations, the subtle flaws and weaknesses that undermine our progress and impede our true potential. This requires an acute level of self-awareness, a willingness to peer into the recesses of our own psyche, acknowledging those aspects of ourselves that we may have preferred to ignore. It is about recognizing the habits, the patterns of thought and behavior that have become counterproductive, the deeply ingrained limiting beliefs that hold us back from achieving our aspirations. To accurately identify these cracks, we must embrace a posture of radical honesty, discarding any inclination towards self-deception or self-justification. The tendency to rationalize our shortcomings, to find excuses for our failures, serves only to perpetuate the very cycles we seek to break. It is crucial to move beyond the surface and delve into the deeper motivations and underlying causes that drive our actions and reactions. This often entails a painful confrontation with our vulnerabilities, our insecurities, and our fears, areas that we may have unconsciously shielded from our own awareness. The process of self-evaluation is not intended to foster self-criticism or self-loathing, but rather to cultivate a clear understanding of our current state, a foundation upon which to build a more resilient and purposeful self. The recognition of our flaws should not be an end in itself, but rather a stepping stone towards positive transformation. It is in acknowledging our imperfections that we gain the power to actively address them, to consciously cultivate new and more effective ways of thinking and acting. This critical process of self-assessment also requires an honest appraisal of the external influences that shape our perspectives and behaviors. We must examine the social norms, the cultural expectations, and the ingrained societal narratives that may have unconsciously influenced our own development, potentially limiting our understanding of what is truly possible for us. Identifying the cracks, then, is not a single act, but an ongoing process of introspection, a continuous cultivation of self-awareness that allows us to navigate the complexities of life with clarity, purpose, and unwavering commitment to our own growth. Chapter 3. The Courage to Dismantle. The act of dismantling, of consciously breaking down the aspects of ourselves that are no longer serving us, demands immense courage and unwavering determination. This is not a passive process of gradual change, but rather a conscious decision to actively disengage from the old patterns, habits, and beliefs that have become impediments to our growth. It requires a willingness to let go of the familiar, to step out of the comfort zone and into the unknown, embracing the inherent uncertainty that accompanies any profound transformation. The old self, however familiar and secure, can sometimes become an obstacle to our full potential. To break free from these limitations requires a conscious decision to disengage from old patterns of thinking, acting, and being that have been holding us back. This process of dismantling often entails a conscious confrontation with our fears, our insecurities, and our vulnerabilities, aspects of ourselves that we may have spent years trying to suppress. It requires the courage to challenge our own ingrained assumptions, to question our deeply held beliefs, and to reevaluate the narratives we have constructed about ourselves and our place in the world. This step is not about erasing our past or denying our experiences, but rather about recognizing how those past experiences have shaped us, and consciously choosing which aspects we wish to carry forward and which we must leave behind. It is about shedding the layers of self-imposed limitations that have become barriers to our true potential. It requires us to detach from the emotional attachments we have formed with our old identities, recognizing that we are not defined by our past mistakes or our present shortcomings, but rather by our capacity to learn, to adapt, and to grow. Dismantling the old self is not an act of self-destruction, but rather an act of self-liberation, an essential prerequisite for the emergence of a new, more authentic, and more empowered self. It is a process that requires both a willingness to challenge our own limitations and an unwavering belief in our capacity to create a better future. The path of self-transformation is not without its challenges, but by embracing this fundamental process of dismantling and rebuilding, we discover within ourselves an untapped reservoir of resilience and the power to shape our own destiny. Chapter 4. Rebuilding the Foundation. Once we have summoned the courage to dismantle the old self, the next crucial step involves the deliberate and intentional process of rebuilding a new foundation, a stronger and more resilient structure that can support our aspirations and propel us towards our desired goals. This is not simply about adopting a new set of habits or superficial changes in behavior, but rather about creating a new personal narrative, a revised understanding of who we are and what we are capable of achieving. The rebuilding phase requires a conscious effort to cultivate new values and beliefs that align with our true potential, to actively create a vision of the person we aspire to become. It involves consciously selecting the thoughts, feelings, and actions that will shape our future, creating a framework that is both empowering and purpose-driven. It is in this phase that we redefine our relationship with our experiences, framing past failures not as indicators of inadequacy, but as invaluable learning opportunities. The past, in this view, is a reservoir of knowledge that can serve as a guide for future actions. We actively design new narratives around our experiences, ones that empower us and strengthen our self-belief. The rebuilding phase is also about cultivating new habits and practices that support our growth. This may involve adopting new routines, actively engaging in activities that challenge us, and intentionally cultivating positive relationships that nurture our personal development. It is about consciously designing an environment that supports our well-being and facilitates our progress towards our goals. The process of rebuilding is not an immediate transformation, but a gradual and continuous refinement. It requires constant self-reflection, a willingness to make adjustments, and an unwavering commitment to our vision of the person we aspire to become. The new foundation we construct is not intended to be rigid or static, but rather a dynamic and adaptable framework that can evolve with us as we navigate the complexities of life. In creating this new foundation, we are not merely reconstructing our lives, but are also consciously creating the conditions for future growth, the necessary support system for continuous evolution. This phase, therefore, is about actively engineering our own destinies, about consciously and intentionally becoming the architects of our lives. Chapter 5. The Ongoing Evolution. The journey of self-transformation is not a linear progression towards a final destination, but rather an ongoing and dynamic process of continuous evolution. Once we have dismantled the old and rebuilt the new, it is crucial to recognize that this is not the end, but rather the beginning of a new cycle of growth and discovery. The process of self-improvement is a continual journey, demanding that we remain adaptable, open to new experiences, and consistently challenge ourselves to evolve. Stagnation is a threat to our continued progress. The moment we become complacent, we risk falling back into old patterns and limitations. The pursuit of growth requires a proactive approach, a constant willingness to question our assumptions, and to remain engaged in the process of learning and adaptation. This ongoing evolution also demands that we cultivate a sense of self-compassion, recognizing that setbacks and challenges are inevitable aspects of the human experience. It is not about avoiding mistakes, but about learning from them, using them as opportunities for growth and refinement. The path of self-transformation is not without its difficulties. There will be times when we will feel lost or discouraged, moments when the old patterns try to reassert themselves. However, it is in these moments that we have the opportunity to demonstrate the resilience and the strength we have gained through this process. It is about constantly pushing the boundaries of our comfort zone, challenging ourselves to reach new levels of performance, and refusing to settle for anything less than our true potential. This commitment to ongoing evolution also demands that we remain open to feedback, seeking out opportunities to learn from others and acknowledging that the pursuit of wisdom is a collective endeavor. It is about developing a growth mindset, understanding that our abilities and intelligence are not fixed, but rather can be developed through dedication and perseverance. The journey of self-transformation is not a solitary endeavor, but rather a deeply interconnected experience. Our growth is often accelerated by our relationships with others, by our participation in a community that supports our progress and encourages our evolution. The ongoing pursuit of growth requires that we approach each day with a sense of curiosity, embracing the unknown with courage and optimism. It is a process that never truly ends. It is an ongoing adventure of self-discovery and the continuous unfolding of our boundless potential.